This is the story of Eli Sharabi, an Israeli civilian who was captured, brutalized, tortured in his home in Kibbutz Be'eri, right on the border of Gaza, on the morning of October 7th, dragged into Gaza, and he spent 491 days in Hamas hell. Good evening and welcome to the Rosenberg Report. This is a story that every Israeli knows, okay? Because Eli Sharabi not only became a major story with all the other hostages during the 2 years of this the horror in Gaza, but Eli Sharabi is the only Israeli surviving hostage to write a book. And this has become the fastest selling, biggest selling book in the history of modern Israel. This has become a huge monster bestseller here. The book is called Hostage. It is the only story of a survivor from the moment of the Hamas attack on the morning of October 7th all the way through the 491 days of his horrific, disgusting, terrifying ordeal. And then where does he go from here? The story has become huge here, but not only here. The book got translated into English, became a big New York Times bestseller in the United States, and yet most Christians, most evangelical Christians do not know the name Eli Sharabi, and they don't know the book yet, but you must read it. I've read it from cover to cover. It was one of the most fascinating and terrifying and yet hopeful books that I have ever read, and I strongly encourage you to pick up a copy in hardcover or on audio, and to read it or to listen to it. And tonight, you're going to get a story that Eli Sharabi shared in the Oval Office with President Trump when Trump invited him to come and meet with him. And Sharabi thanks President Trump for all that he did to set Sharabi and the others free. This is a story that Eli Sharabi told at the UN Security Council just weeks after his release. And he's begun to share it in the media. And tonight, he sits down with the Rosenberg Report for an exclusive interview. 491 days in Hamas hell, the story of Eli Sharabi. Eli, what an honor to meet you.
Thank you very much.
I praise God that you are alive. And it's an honor just to sit with you. I read the book cover to cover. It is so moving, and I am encouraging every Christian in the world to read this book, to share this book, because it's such an important story. In this first show, I just want to start with who you are, what you suffered, and what you lost. Okay? So you wake up at 6:29 on October 7th, you're getting messages, you're starting to hear rockets. What happens? Your world gets blown apart that day.
Yeah, but we used to all these missiles from time to time, and so we pick up the girls from their room to the safe room, Lian and I, and we just waited there. We were thought going to be 5 minutes,
Right.
And half an hour later, we'll still be in the safe room because the alarm didn't stop, and there was a message from the emergency team of the kibbutz that says that there's a possibility that terrorists infiltrated Be'eri,
right.
so we need to stay in the safe
Are you
room.
hearing automatic gunfire yet?
Not yet,
Okay.
not yet. But and then
So that must be a shock to read this. Something
yes,
it just
was
never happened before.
really weirdness, and said the girls, I don't know, but probably in half an hour don't worry, we'll be outside from here and we'll start our day. And it's continue, and then the videos, showed on TV from Sderot and Ofakim and the Nova Festival, and we understood that the situation's out of control.
You're seeing messages from fellow kibbutz members in Be'eri.
Not yet, just family and friends that was very worried at that time. We said to them, we are okay, don't worry.
Okay.
And then after this, 2 hours in the safe room, we start to hear some gunfires, and we understood that there's many terrorists in the kibbutz, and these messages from the kids start to show in this
Kids,
WhatsApp
you mean
groups.
neighbors,
Yes, neighbors
in Be'eri.
and said that somebody shot dad, somebody shot mom, our house is burning, and things like that. And then we start to understand, Leanne and I, that they're on their way to our house as well.
You made some decisions at that
Yes.
point as a couple.
Yes.
What did you decide?
Yeah, we presume that I'll be kidnapped, but we're not going to fight with them. We better not to fight with them. We have no weapons in the house or something like that. So it was the best way to protect the girls is not to fight.
Okay.
And we
Surrender as soon as
yes, and
they
we
arrive.
presume that British passport, Leanne and the girls would protect them.
Why did you presume that?
Because, the conflict is between the Israelis and the Palestinians or Jewish and Arabs or something like that, but they are not Jewish, they are not Israelis.
Leanne was a British volunteer who'd come
Yes.
at like 20 years old, and you guys had met.
Yes.
She only planned to come for a few months.
Yes.
Right? And then you guys fell in
Yes,
love.
we fell in love and we raised our 2 daughters in the kibbutz, and it was an amazing place, a piece of heaven for us. And unfortunately, it's become it's turned to a hell this day. And so they arrived after 4 hours. We've been in the safe room, and the army didn't show up. That we presumed that, or we expected. So we were very disappointed that the army didn't show.
Yeah.
And instead of that,
Inexplicable. It must have been bizarre.
Yes.
Like it doesn't make any sense.
Suddenly it was 10 terrorists in our house, and 2 of them grabbed me, 3 or 4 of them grabbed the girls and to the kitchen area, and all the rest we've been in the house and waited that Leanne will get dressed because we would jump from our bed.
Right.
And they were terrified, Leanne and the girls. I tried to calm them down, and it was all calm in the house, and we were sure that our plan is working. And 3 or 4 minutes later, I understand Arabic, so the commander of this unit, of this terrorist, told them to take me out of the house. So it was the moment I understood that I'm being kidnapped, and just shouted at the girls that to calm them down, that I'll be back.
Yeah.
And
That was your last
that was
communication with
yes,
them.
last communication, last time I've seen
You
Leanne and the
couldn't
girls.
possibly have imagined that you wouldn't see them.
No.
Now you get taken into
Yes,
Gaza,
yes.
believing, okay, it's bad, but they'll be safe.
Yes.
And you got a hard road ahead. I mean, literally, you're being beaten, you're being dragged, you're being
Yes.
put in a car,
Yes.
taken into Gaza.
To Gaza.
What are you thinking? Are you thinking this is a temporary, a few days? Are you thinking? I mean, do you have?
Yeah.
What are you thinking?
Yes.
What are your emotions at that
Yeah.
point?
First of all, on the way to the car, I've seen some like hundreds of terrorists in this neighborhood, on our neighborhood, just coming in and out from every house, celebrating, filming themselves, joking and things like that. And I've seen that, and so I understood the situation is bad. I understood I'm not on my own. I will not be, the only hostage in Gaza. I was sure about that. And so I presume, okay, in something like that, you're not going to be years in Gaza. I presume it will be a month, something like that. Unfortunately, it took 16 months to release me. 491 days, yes. And some other my fellow hostages were more than 700 days. The first stop in Gaza was in a mosque, and a mob of civilians that are outside of this mosque succeed to take me away from my
Your captors.
from my captors.
You describe in the book several times, but in this time, you were almost more scared. You were more scared of the mob
Hamas,
and what they would do to you than
Hamas
the
was more scared about that.
Hamas was scared.
Yes, was scared from the civilians. Because they, Hamas got an order to keep us safe, and because they want their prisoners back.
Okay.
And
You're a pawn. You're a
yes.
strategic asset.
Yes, I'm
for
an
them.
asset, for them.
Yeah.
for the civilians, I'm not, and they just want to kill me. Yes,
they want to kill you. Yes. They want to rip you. You
yes.
describe fearing that they will just rip you apart.
It was
literally
kids on top of me with their shoes, hitting me on my head. Fortunately, the captors succeed to take me into the mosque and interrogate me there, and then we continue to another 3 or 4 stops to confuse the army, and we arrived to a Palestinian family house.
Yeah.
And we've been there for the next 52 days.
Reading this part, it thought, okay, it's not good, but of all the other scenarios,
yes.
It seemed the least bad that you were in. As a journalist, I was brought by the IDF into Khan Yunis, into a newly discovered tunnel at that point. And so I spent a day with just a small group of other journalists going into tunnels, going into Yahya Sinwar's private lair at that point. So most people don't get a chance, I don't know if a chance is the right word, but I got, for just one day, to feel how humid, how dark, how filthy the quarters were. I went into a cage that 12 Israeli hostages were in, but I also saw the living quarters of the terrorists, and beautiful tile work, beautiful bathrooms, kitchens, running water, electricity, gas. Like they didn't live badly for their choice of life, but for the Israelis, it was horrible. So I have just a little bit of a sense, but for you being taken at 52 days mark from what was, you had fresh air, you had a family, you were fed reasonably well compared to what happens. You're not really being tortured or starved yet.
Yes.
And you describe in the book a very deep fear of ever being taken into those tunnels, and suddenly you describe, oh my gosh, that's exactly what's about to happen.
Yes. That was, it was my worst nightmare. It looked like the perfect grave. I refused in the beginning to climb down. And
you literally tell them no.
Yes, I told them yes, and start to argue with them. But after 30, 40 seconds, they got upset with me, loaded their guns and pointed my head. And then I remember my promise to my girls that I will come back and chose life again.
Right now, as war ends, we pray, we think that's happening. Many Christians are asking, so what do we do now? How can we continue to bless Israel, especially as the nation begins to rebuild? Well, Scripture gives us the answer in Genesis 12:3. I will bless those who bless Israel. And today, that calling matters more than ever. After years of hardship, Israel is entering a season of renewal. Families are rebuilding, small businesses are reopening, and communities from the Galilee to the Negev are coming back to life. And that's where Artza comes in. Artza is a beautiful subscription box that brings the Holy Land straight into your home, filled with handmade foods, crafts, and treasures created by small family artisans all across Israel. Each item tells a story of faith, beauty, and restoration. By subscribing, you're not only receiving something meaningful, you're directly blessing the people of Israel and helping their communities thrive again. This Christmas, bless Israel in a tangible way. Visit artsabox.com and use my code RR15 for 15% off. Lynn and I love Artza, and I know you will too. Bless Israel, experience the land, be part of its renewal with Artza. But I also want to talk about what got ripped away from you. Would you talk about Leanne, your wife? Talk about Noya and Yahed,
yes,
because I want our audience of Christians who care very deeply, love Israel and the Jewish people very deeply. They don't know you yet. You're one of the most famous people in Israel now. Your book is a huge bestseller because people they're craving to know more. How did you survive? What happened to you? But most Christians, even though they follow the story overall, they don't know you, and they don't know Leanne or the girls. And I think they need to.
Leanne was a very British, proud woman, loved her cup of tea and beer with her friends.
Aww.
And we had great life together. And I was...
How many years were you married?
We've been married 23 years. And we've been together 28 years, and it was an amazing time, and I was very lucky to have her. And she was immediately become Israeli.
It's not Jewish.
Not Jewish, but after 6 months, she was
Israeli.
She was Israeli. She knew the language, and she was amazing. She loved the kibbutz. She loved her friends. She got, she missed her family that in England and in Canada, and we raised 2 beautiful daughters, Noya and Yahel. And
what can you tell me about them?
Noya was all heart, and she used to work with autistic kids. She used to volunteer twice a week for 3 years before that happened, and that was her passion, and to help other people, and she was amazing. She loved music. We used to go to concerts, to Israeli singers' concerts.
She's a teenager,
yes.
16 or so?
Amazing woman. And Yahel was our little boy. She used to play football.
A lot of passion, a lot of energy.
Yes, loads of energy, and liked extreme things to do. She used to skydive.
Yeah, she asked you,
skydiving.
Could I skydive for my birthday?
Yes, and we were all terrified just to look at her in the air.
That was only about a year or so before.
A year before, yes, and we waited for her just, to all this.
You didn't jump with her?
No way. And she loved scuba diving, and she just finished on August 23 her course, and I've been with her in a lot. And we promised each other to dive to do scuba diving in Thailand. And I think 2 months ago, I did it for her.
Oh, wow.
And yes,
let's skip ahead, because when I read the book, I will be honest, I didn't go back to check your story. I wanted to read it through. I thought I knew your story, but we've been dealing with 251 different people and trying to know their stories and what's going on with them and who.
Yes.
And I said, I'm not going to do any background. I'm just going to read the book through as anybody would. So I kept hoping. And we get to the part where you find out that you're going to be released. And you have made this choice. Well, first of all, you made a promise. I'm going to come back. I'll be back. And then you make choices all the way along. I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to sink into despair, because Leanne and these girls, they need you,
yes.
And they don't know what your status is. So you're like, I'm going to get back to them. I'm just, whatever it takes, I'm going to get back to them. And now you're finding out that you're going to be released. Could you describe, would you describe the literal release? You're meeting a Red Cross representative finally. The Red Cross has never come to see you. And you meet some Israeli officers and social worker. You're excited.
I was very excited. It was a roller coaster emotional day, because it should be my happiest day since I was.
You're being released from hell.
Yes, for 491 days. You just imagine this moment like your happiest moment ever, and I was very excited.
You've literally dreamt of this moment,
yes.
What it's going to be like.
And actually, in this ceremony in Deir el-Balach, just before we transferred
the
to
Hamas ceremony,
yes,
where
they asked me how I feel that I'm going to meet my wife and my daughters, and of course I was very happy about that, excited about that. And the moment I arrived to the IDF, and this social worker approached to me and introduced herself and said to me that my mother and my sister were waiting for me. And I told her just to bring Leanne and the girls. And
did that seem like a strange sentence to you? Or it went too quickly for you to process
I didn't
it?
really want to believe that. It was, of course, it was all quickly for me. And I said to her, just bring me my own Leanne and my daughters. And she said, well, your mother and your sister will tell you. And of course, you don't need to tell anything anymore. And that the worst scenario happened for me. And Leanne and the girls didn't survive October 7th. In this ceremony in Deir el-Balach, just before we transferred
the
to
Hamas ceremony,
yes,
where
they asked me how I feel that I'm going to meet my wife and my daughters. And of course, I was very happy about that, excited about that. And the moment I arrived to the IDF, and this social worker approached to me and introduced herself and said to me that my mother and my sister were waiting for me. And I told her just to bring Leanne and the girls. And
did that seem like a strange sentence to you? Or it went too quickly for you to process
I didn't
it?
really want to believe that. It was, of course, it was all quickly for me. And I said to her, just bring me my own Leanne and my daughters. And she said, well, your mother and your sister will tell you. And of course, you don't need to tell anything anymore. And that the worst scenario happened for me. And Leanne and the girls didn't survive October 7th. And I'm a very practical person. And I always, it was a possibility for me.
Yeah.
But it was, I put it deep inside of me, and I didn't really want to believe that.
You had even told one of your fellow hostages, some young guys. You were 51 when you were captured, and there were young guys in their young 20s, and they were weeping. They were having a hard time just settling themselves. I mean, it's a horrible situation, but you were like almost being a father to them, telling them, look, you just got to focus. And they said, well, when are you going to cry? And you said, when I know I'm safe, when I know I'm nowhere near these guys, these evil monsters anymore, then I'll let myself down. And as the IDF tells you, you are now safe, but you're also learning that Leanne and the girls have been murdered. Yeah. What happens inside of you?
It was like a hammer on my head, but I was crying for 5 minutes. But then
sobbing. I mean, you're really describing just weeping,
of
like
course.
Beyond.
Yes, weeping. But and she hugged me and tried to calm me down. But after 5 minutes, I just remember that I can choose again. I need to choose again if I want. Because all 491 days you have loads of choices. People think that if you've been kidnapped, you lose control, 100%. And for me, it's not the truth, because, okay, I don't choose what to eat or when or how much or how can I walk, when I can walk to the bathroom or something like that. But I was free in my mind, and I can count days, and I can think about my family, and I can choose to be optimistic or not.
You got to know your fellow hostages. So much so that when you got out, one of your first calls was to the parents of one of the guys that you had to say goodbye to, that they had not permitted him to be released yet.
Alon Oil's family, yes, of course. It was my moral duty to do that. In the first moment I was released, to talk with them and say to them that he's okay and he's going to be, he's going to survive that, and I'm sure about that, and he has enough tools to do that, and the ability that he can do that now, because they remember a very delicate young guy, and I needed to tell them that he had a real process of how to survive,
and you'd helped him with
and
that.
he can do that. But for me, it was, again, I could let the grief and my loss to bury me at the same moment. She let me know about my family, or to choose to move on. And again, I'm a very practical person, and I know I can't do anything to bring back Leanne or in the hell at the same moment, and I understood that. But I'm here, and life is still here, and I love life.
Wow, what an honor to sit down with Eli Sharabi and hear that story. I mean, I've read it cover to cover. I know the story. It's an extraordinary story, and I strongly encourage you to pick up a copy of the book. Actually, pick one up for friends and family as gifts. People need to know the story. Every Christian who cares about Israel at all needs to know this story.